Welcome to the very first episode of Gold Diggers Winning in Sports Business. Stephen McIvor, joined by Mr. Sponsorship himself, Mike Keech from Impact Sponsorship. People are going to want to know what Gold Diggers is all about. What is Gold Diggers all about?
Well, mate, firstly, welcome.
You're welcoming me to our own podcast?
I am. I want to be polite when we start off.
Okay, let's start there. Fair play.
I do. And welcome to the listeners. I mean, this is obviously an opportunity for us to share with you stories, secrets behind the locker room in terms of success, collaborations. What does the fan not see, and what do they do behind doors to create successful business?
And maybe if there are athletes or brands listening, how they can be better in the business of sport, right?
Yeah, navigating the speed humps and maybe some shortcuts.
Because in many ways, it's not that hard. You just got to know the tips, and maybe we'll give you some along the way. Okay, so this very first episode, we're going to talk about collaborations, all right? Collaborations that have worked and collaborations that haven't worked. And what you'll discover along the way is why they didn't work is actually quite simple. So we have to, first of all, set the tone. What is a collaboration?
Yeah, collaborations are quite simple. It's two brands, and, well, what's a brand?
Athlete?
Yep. Nike?
Yeah.
Airlines? Products?
Michael Jordan.
Nike.
Serena Williams. Nike. Kanye West. Yeezy.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, Nike, let's get complicated. The Paris football team. 3 brands collaborating.
Okay, so that's what a brand is. What we're going to start to set this whole conversation in motion is about the split. We know it's old news, but it's a good way to set us up. And that's the 27-year collaboration between Tiger Woods and Nike that came to an end. The question is, why did it come to an end?
Yeah, it's a really tough one, isn't it? 27 years, it's a long time to be with one brand and decide with an epiphany that it was time to move. And I think, my view is it's mutual. I think Nike peaked with golf and Tiger leading that in about 2013. In 2013, though, that was 1/8 of the Michael Jordan basketball brand return.
So Jordan was pulling something like, 1.2 billion a year off the product of the Jordan brand?
Yeah, and ultimately had shifted the Jordan brand from a basketball brand to a cultural icon, cross-generational. People wanted to be seen in the brand, regardless of whether you're an artist, a mum, a dad, a basketballer, or a golfer.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about Jordan, you think about kids nowadays at 9 and 10 looking at Jordans, and the vintage market alone on second-hand Jordans is bonkers. You're looking at upwards of like an unused pair of Jordans that could be 10 years old, going for like $1,500, $4,000. That says Nike and Jordan got it right. So where did they get it wrong with Tiger?
Yeah, I think they were trying to evolve the golf partnership with Tiger as at the forefront, and unfortunately, I don't think the market matured as quickly as basketball did with Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is a global phenomenon.
Even now.
Yeah, and now his legacy is actually worth more than what he was when he was at his peak.
Yeah, but that's okay. You can sell your basketball team. You're going to make $2 billion. Of course, you're going to make more out of it. But the crazy thing is, because of his age, he is still making money off that one brand. And when he won so many championships, right, off one red and white boot that broke the mold in the NBA. Well, you can't wear colourful boots. You can't wear colourful sand shoes.
Yeah, and Nike said, well, we'll pay the $5,000 fine a night to wear it. And I think that's the thing. It's, there are sports teams, there are athletes, artists that live and breathe Jordan. And you're right, I saw a pair of Nike Series 1s for sale. I think they're about $5,500.
Oh, God. Series 1s?
Series 1.
But the thing that they have been so smart about is that it hasn't been just the shoe. Now it's the clothing. Now it's everything that is attached to it. And it's still, in many ways you can say, it is still a phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, when you go from being a greatest athlete, the transition of success is when other people are wearing your gear, including the fact that he owns the All-Star match. Everything they wear is Jordan apparel. He's greater than the global game. And I think the people that are wearing it are now artists, singers, everyday people, and it's almost an acceptable lifestyle brand.
So then you get Tiger Woods, and Nike went all in with actually clubs, the whole 9 yards. So they went the whole 9 yards, but it didn't kick. Do you think that comes down to the fact that they had zero history in people picking up a club and saying, well, like that, it's a Nike club. And they use purely the image of Tiger and his ability to be so successful, and it tanked.
Yeah, I think, no, I agree, mate. I think that the challenge for golf is that basketball, when Jordan came on, peaked. It started to go from an American sport to global. The NBA were very smart and positioned Michael Jordan in the heart of that, and they grew their brand. And, this happened over decades. Whereas golf, you probably argue with Liv now coming on board, it's about to break and perhaps change the game. But it's now. It's not 30 years ago.
Yeah, but here's the crux of this, right? Tiger was the Michael Jordan of golf, yet it didn't. It translated to a buttload of cash for him, but selling products not so.
No, and I think that's where they've failed. It's a golf brand. It never transitioned into I'd like to wear a pair of Tiger Woods shoes to go into the gym and lift weights.
So, in other words, they blew the culture play. They didn't play the culture card.
Yeah, I don't think Woods' brand was personified beyond the golf market.
In other words, old people.
Yeah, and it really didn't transition through. And I think people didn't have that. There's no cultural link, no backstory really. Tiger is a phenomenal golfer, but everyone wanted to be Mike.
Wow. Be like Mike. Be like Mike. And so Tiger splits, then hooks up with, was the worst keep secret going around, hooks up with TaylorMade and comes out with this hideous name. I'm going to say it. Sunday Red. On the back of the fact that he always wore red on Championship Sunday because his mum said it was good luck, right? And then this ridiculous Tiger logo, which I think is hideous because it's supposed to initiate all the 15 majors he's got on it. But when you saw Sunday Red, 3 separate words, what was your first reaction?
Why?
And why?
And why? Because it means something to him and it means something to golfers. And if you read TaylorMade's view on why they've partnered with Tiger in this collaboration, is that they see Tiger as the person that will move their golf brand into a lifestyle brand. And I hate to say it, pause, go back to Nike, failed. There's no way a golf brand is going to become a lifestyle brand. Tiger's past his peak. It's not a generational thing anymore. And TaylorMade is golf.
Yeah, TaylorMade is golf, not Sunday. And why wouldn't you just go Sunday Red? Why do you have to split the sun and the day?
Yeah, and I think this is the problem. They've built a new brand around something that means something to Tiger.
It means something to Tiger. Shouldn't it mean something to you and me?
Well, if you're going to sell, that's exactly what happens. The guy that designed the first boots for Michael Jordan, the actual shadow logo that was designed that Michael Jordan signed off on, this was all about bigger than him. And I think that's where Tiger, under TaylorMade's banner now, will not get any bigger than what it was when he was with Nike.
Fail? Are we going to call a fail this early?
I'm going to call it a nice, comfortable retirement package.
No, you're calling it a fail. Why don't you just say it what it is? It's going to be a fail.
It's a golf brand. It won't surpass a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, because there's no hipness to it. There's not I want to wear Sunday Red. No, I don't. I'm bored already because it's too much of a mouthful. Say Jordan, you know exactly what you talk about. Now, let's give him some breathing room here. You have to build the brand. So if you're hooked up, say, oh God, I'm gonna have to build Sunday Red. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
The first thing I'm going to do is say, well, what failed at Nike, and how do I drive my brand? My brand as Tiger Woods isn't going to get any bigger than what I am now. I built that for 27 years. So what does TaylorMade bring to the party that's different to Tiger? And my question to you was, when they announced it with that terrible name, were you inspired to go out and shop for?
No, not at all. Nothing. There was nothing selling me to go and buy Sunday Red. I don't play golf. I've played golf, but I'm not going to go and spend, and I'm probably going to spend overs as well on this one, too much money, because it's got Tiger's name attached to it. Well, it doesn't even have Tiger. It's got that silly elongated tiger on it.
And that's the challenge. What he's done is to rebrand away from Nike. I would suggest Nike's got some protection over the 27-year investment. He's tried to curtail around it with TaylorMade. The end result is he's got a brand that doesn't actually link to his brand unless you're him or you're close to the history of Tiger, and it's not inspiring. I'd love to have seen their sales in the 2 weeks after they've announced it.
Yeah, I tell you, it doesn't work for me. But let's talk about collaborations, because what is the key to a good collaboration before we give some examples of collaborations that have worked but then failed? So how do you identify a good collaboration?
Yeah, I think it's simple. It's two brands coming together. What do you both bring to the table? It's influence, empowerment, visibility, it's impact, so what do you stand for, and it's innovation. But both brands have got to be quality, high equity. So when I say high equity, people like them. They like the person. They like the brand. But coming together is that boom moment.
What's a boom moment?
Boom moment is where you've brought something together that people go, do you know what? Those two brands come together. G-Shock, and there was an Italian DJ that did an exclusive watch.
Yeah.
It sold out because people that were in the music scene wanted something exclusive.
How important is it for the athlete, that part of the brand collaboration, to actually be likable?
Well, I think you've got to, because if you're going to sell stuff, people have got to like you. And if your brand fails in something like this example, what does that say about your likability?
Yeah, so I'm always intrigued. You've got athletes like Serena Williams. I mean, The Rock's, for me, is a perfect example. Yeah. For me, The Rock's and his collaboration with Under Armour is, and I don't even know how much money they're making out of it or how much money, and I don't really care. But the one thing that strikes me about The Rock and his collaboration with Under Armour is his authenticity. He is goodness personified. Is that why that works?
Yeah, it's a heartened brand. You know, he's evolved his brand similar to other people that have come through his path, but he's likable. He's built a strong brand. People connect with him. He's funny. He's a very big, powerful brand.
He's good looking.
And let's face it, The Rock and Under Armour, in terms of that fitness lifestyle transition, and the other one, honestly, is Steph Curry and Under Armour again. Steph has actually created a whole range of stuff as lifestyle that sits outside that. What's interesting with Steph, though, it's actually departmentalized, so it's only contained geographically in America and China, where basketball's played. So Steph, I don't think, has morphed Under Armour to be anywhere near Michael Jordan is.
Well, we have to understand too that the Rock is the Rock. He's a huge. They want him to be president of the United States. Actually, I wouldn't mind. That'd be okay. Actually.
It's not a bad alternative.
No, it's not a bad alternative. But the Curry thing, he's minuscule as opposed to The Rock. So that's
the chef.
But the thing about The Rock, and this is where I come back to this likability and the authenticity. But he actually, and I think he's the key to all of this. I think The Rock is incredibly smart. He understands his audience. Now, is this where brands have got to be very smart themselves? And when I'm saying this, brands, the second part of the collab. You've got the athlete, but then you've got the brand.
Well, it's about appetite, right? As an athlete or The Rock, if you walk into a brand collaboration discussion, and the movie obviously on Jordan is a great example of the mother's due diligence on all those brands. What she was looking for was not Adidas being the number one brand. She was looking for a brand that was hungry, that would wrap themselves around her son and make it happen. She wanted something different. And I think for an athlete going into these collaborations, you can do it on the whim that you think it's going to give you a paycheck up front, but those brands can also destabilise and kill all the work you've done with your fans. So The Rock would have been looking for a great brand, and Under Armour, that's where they started. Fitness, CrossFit, and they've built themselves into different levels like golf and basketball. The Rock is a great ambassador.
How dangerous is it for brands, and we talk about brands, let's just Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, Reebok, whatever. How dangerous is it to look at an athlete or an artist or whatever you want to collaborate, that they're the flavour of the month? How dangerous can that be?
Yeah, I think you can't be short-sighted. What you're looking at is an athlete, an artist who has built a long tail for themselves, not someone that's just popping up and popping out. That might be a brand extension, which effectively is, let's do something, let's do it really quick, let's make a lot of money and then walk away. Most athletes and most brand collaborations that have worked, though, like Tiger when he was with Nike, 27 years is a really decent run. And let's be honest, while Tiger was taking $130 million a year, Nike weren't dominating to lifestyle, but they were still writing a nice check.
Yeah, but it came to an end. And so what really intrigues me, Mike, is we're talking about major brands, right? We're talking about major players. Does performance and image and exposure play that big a part for a smart brand?
Yeah, well, let's use an example of a surprise where two brands have come together and it goes south. Nike and Lance Armstrong. I mean, Lance was the poster boy.
Mr. 7 times.
7 times, Mr. Clean. And then, bang, the bubble bursts, and Nike goes, we're out, too much danger here. And the backlash to that kind of relationship actually is around a couple we've talked about.
Well, we could talk about, let's talk about Adidas and Kanye West, or Ye, and the Yeezy thing, right? So that went ballistic. And it still sort of goes ballistic, even though they've parted. But they parted because the artist made anti-Semitic comments, right? Now, Adidas would never have seen that coming. So do you think, when you look back, in 2020 hindsight, it's one of those great things we can do you think he did that deliberately for control?
I mean, we've talked about this. Kanye collaborating with certainly Adidas. Adidas were after disruption. Kanye is not a safe play, and there's significant risk around an artist who just does what they want to do. And so I think Adidas took that risk, but they cut him very quick when it got hot.
Yeah.
And they would have known that when they walked into this, that day was going to come.
Okay, so for you, this was purely a calculated play.
Absolutely.
Knowing it was actually not a long-term play.
Yeah, I think this was Kanye's got a huge base, quite niche fan base, lifestyle. For Adidas, this was a way of getting their brand amplified, selling a lot of stuff really quick, but knowing that the day was coming.
So let's talk about something that's happening as we speak, right? Christian Horner, team principal, Red Bull Racing F1, under alleged allegations, can I say that twice? I did, anyway, of inappropriate behaviour, which is a really dangerous phrase for a start, right? I think because it brings up the obvious, right? And I think it's really dangerous. But Ford Motor Company are coming in as an engine supplier for 26. They have already come out and said quite clearly, we are, quote, a family values company. Therein lies the kicker for me right now. So if you're Red Bull and you're not Christian Horner, but you're writing the checks, what are you going to do right now?
So my first comment would be Ford are based in where?
In America.
A team in America just got canned.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So Ford obviously are looking to be the engine developer provider for Red Bull.
Yes, correct.
My view on this is that if you read social, the amount of Americans that are actually commenting on Ford to say, this is quite ironic. You're saying that you're a family brand, but let me start listing all the things that you, as a brand, aren't doing that are family orientated. Massive recalls. So there's a history with the Ford brand. And I would certainly argue that for a brand to position itself to be
a family valued brand, right? A family company, which is a really good play, right? Particularly in Middle America, right?
Absolutely.
Good Christian, right? Middle America.
Yeah, but you need to be very confident that someone doesn't pull back the books and then starts to lay out your laundry. And I think for like The Rock was very clear about his association with Under Armour.
Yep.
There's no bad blood with Under Armour when he joined, and his brand has leveraged that. The thing I find ironic about the Ford discussion is that they've preempted this when it's come out. It's actually not even official.
No, not at all.
And part of me sort of wonders whether this is a strategy to exit negotiations.
What you mean pull the pin out of the whole Red Bull powertrain argument?
And not because of Christian, but this is a door that actually allows them to maybe exit that discussion. And there's rhetoric at the moment, socially, about Ford's, I suppose, position going forward, and maybe this is an excuse. My question is, it's so behind doors at the moment to make a public statement that, if this is true, we're family valued and we're out.
Well, they haven't said they're out. They're just throwing it out. They're throwing the idea that we're a family. So I would suggest that they still want to be in because they know Cadillac will eventually be in. We hope, and I certainly hope they are, with Andretti, right?
Yep.
So they need to, but they want Red Bull to clean house if the allegations are true.
Yeah.
I also think on the flip side, it's a power play by Helmut Marko, who wants Horner out so he can have more control.
And I think ultimately this was coming down to this is a play in terms of maybe the negotiations aren't where Ford want them to be, and with a different person in the seat, maybe that does things.
Yeah, but Mike, are we making too much of this whole Ford Red Bull thing? I mean, they're not even part and parcel now. I mean, is this going to Does this one man's potential allegations of being a little bit naughty, and gee whiz, he's not the first, and I'm not condoning this in any sense if it comes out to be true. Not at all. But
agreed.
Is that really a brand breaker, a collab breaker?
No. The irony of this is that there is no collab. It's a negotiation. And it's been really interesting to see Ford position itself almost preempting that there is something that might come, and if it does, then we're okay. I can see they're playing both sides of the fence, but in collaboration terms, there is far worse collaborations that are actually in play that have split versus the possible.
What's in play that you look as far worse than this?
I would suggest that, for Adidas, not bailing out early enough.
On the Yi?
On the Yi, absolutely. Yeah. I still think they were slow to the gun. Yeah. And, you could argue that maybe that's because they were selling stock still on the back of the controversy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think the last 6 months of 23, they raked in 430-odd million on the back of Yi product they still had, yet they made some play that a lot of that was going to go to charity.
Yeah. And
the profit.
Yeah, and there is a spin, that they were doing things that were socially correct, against that. But it's interesting, from my perspective, Lance Armstrong's a great example of brands going wrong. It's a tough one because you're dealing with people.
Did the brand go wrong or did Lance go wrong? Lance went wrong.
Yeah, I think in that case.
But they just dropped them like hotcakes. So isn't that what you got to do?
Yeah, well, you have to in that case. I mean, we're talking about drugs and illegal activity to win.
Yeah.
So for Adidas, for Nike, from my perspective, you've got to exit because the brand damage perception is reality, right?
All right, so we've gone some big names and failures and success. Actually, what is do you think, Jordan, is the most successful collaboration in the world of sport?
I think in the modern era, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what are we talking now? $1.2 billion or $1.3 billion
a year plus.
The money he's making not only for him but for Nike. I mean, he is a key player. Probably the other one is Dr. Dre and Beats with Apple.
Yeah, I never thought about that one. That one just came out of the blue when he sold, right? I wasn't even in that space.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you watch the documentary, there was a clear discussion, and in actual fact, they had one of their parties, and apparently someone tweeted, "We're partying because there's a massive thing coming," and it got out early, and Apple, being a very conservative brand, jumped on it straight away. But if you look at that example, Dre's got an executive role. He's a great designer, huge equity in terms of an artist. But headphones that have now gone global, and they're an Apple brand, but they still keep Dr. Dre because they recognise that Apple might be strong, but...
Well, it's Beats is the kicker, right?
The Beats is what people know.
What do you wear in Beats? I don't wear Beats.
No.
They're too expensive.
No, and in actual fact, in America, the Beats are probably a cheaper brand. Globally, they're through the roof in terms of cost. But great examples of, music, collaboration, sound. I want good ear sound.
So when we break down the word collaboration and successful collaborations, we're looking at the athlete or the artist that they're involved with, right? And they've got something about them. They're a performer, as on the sports field, whatever service they are playing on, or they're an artist that is kicking it and producing number one singles, or are successful in the now, in the moment, in the present, and people are going, wow, have you heard this, right? The key I always think about, or the question I always ask, Mike, is this. Age demos. How do you figure out which is the right demo to collaborate with to make content? Because look, listen, let's break this all down. This is nothing more, nothing less than making money for both individuals or joint individuals, right? So, for instance, let's talk about a pen. All right, you've got this really funky pen. I'm putting you on the spot here.
It is funky.
It's a funky pen, right? and I want to collab with this funky pen that does everything. It almost makes coffee. Who am I thinking of straight away? What am I looking at?
Well, mate, the fact that makes coffee is probably me, but
yeah, but you ain't gonna sell me 400 million pens and make me 40 million a year.
No.
So what is the key to that? I know it's a really hard on the spot moment, but what would you be looking for, or who would you be looking for to collab with?
So this is when we come back to that question of who's doing it the best and probably the best as a benchmark. And I do think that it is actually Serena Williams won as an example with Nike. But Michael Jordan, the thing that really interests me is that basketball boomed in the 80s. So everyone that went to school in the 80s now is a mum and dad with kids either empty nesting or about to, right? So the parents are connected, their kids are connected. Jordan's brand has done something with Nike that, in actual fact, is the epitome of all collaborations. It's cross-generational.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, I would argue that when he leaves this earth, let's hope not in any time soon, the legacy of the Jordan brand will live on. And that, in actual fact, for a collaboration, is the perfect storm.
Okay, you're talking about a perfect storm, but right now I want to sell my pen. So the first person that comes to mind, you're gonna answer this question straight off.
Yeah.
Who's the first person I want to collaborate with my pen?
Well, you want to go to, depends, who do you want to sell it to?
No, who's the first person? That's an easy one. We talked about it. Taylor Swift.
Oh, Swifty.
I want Taylor Swift to sell my pen. Is she the right person to sell my pen?
Yes.
Why?
Because she has a fan base that adore her, and the moment she says, I like something,
they're going to go bonkers.
Correct.
So Taylor Swift is seen signing something with my pen.
Yep.
I'm going to collaborate with her.
So if you launch...
How much risk is involved in that?
Well, if you launch a new Tay-Tay pen...
Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. The new Tay-Tay pen.
It's a Tay-Tay pen.
Yep.
Then I would say to you that the risk for Tay-Tay is at the moment the fan goes to use it to get her to sign something and it doesn't work.
So it's another layer involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
quality.
How many times
quality over quantity.
How many times have you gone to the bank and the pen doesn't work? I mean, so Tay-Tay would be going, right, so I'm a quality brand, quality voice, my audience are quality. So if I'm going to work with your pen, even though it makes me coffee, does it actually work?
Okay, so we're going to wrap up this very first pod of Gold Diggers by trying to break down what we've just been discussing for the last almost half hour. What are the keys to a good collaboration, whether you are dealing at a local level, an international level, a provincial level, wherever you are around the world? What are the key things both sides of the equation have to factor in?
Well, the first thing is why.
Yep.
So as an athlete or an artist,
it's very deep,
why?
That's
why?
I feel like I'm on the couch. What's my why?
Why, Stephen?
Yeah, okay,
Why?
but it's my why.
It is. And for the pen, your why is I need to sell it.
Yep.
It's a great idea. Who do I collaborate with? Tay-Tay, big audience, quality person, great collaboration. I know this will work.
Okay, so there's my why. That's step one. Second step. What's my second step?
Second step is how do I get in front of her to actually get this pen up?
Okay.
To get it working.
Yeah.
And, if you're already a successful person being an artist, then you've already got doors open to those brands.
Okay.
In our case, we have to work very hard at a concert to get front row seats to get her attention.
Right, okay.
But you ultimately want to get to the room, talk about it, hope that they don't have anything they're already currently doing, and you want to negotiate it. And I think the key for the person who is the athlete, how into it are they? How much do they need you?
What's their why?
Are they there for you, like the Jordan and Michael Jordan's mum? Yeah. Why are they doing? Are they going to look after me? And do they care about my brand?
And will they tell stories about me? Will they care enough that they will look at the backstories and go, this is part of my why?
Yeah, and 100%. Nike did a great job on who is Mike. I want to be with Mike. I want to be Mike. And that's why people bought his stuff.
Okay, there's another word that keeps coming in my head. Quality of the product that I want to sell to Tay-Tay to make sure that she's part of the brand. Yeah. Quality has to be in play, doesn't it?
Yeah, for everything. I mean, the gear that you buy, Lululemon with golf, anything that you've got needs to be quality because the moment it deteriorates and gives the consumer, the person buying, an opportunity to have a go, it's not just Nike's brand that starts to devolve, it's yours.
Okay, there's one final word we have to discuss quickly. Authenticity. How big a feature is that?
Yeah, I think when you watch TV commercials or someone's telling a story, you can generally tell whether it's real, whether they care. the emotion. Where's it coming from?
Yeah, but you can be a good actor as well.
Well, you can be, but people can generally cut through that. Over time, your story changes. Whereas if the story is genuine, there's a connection, and where I came from and why I've got this and why you should buy this product, I think people generally will understand that. They connect. Authenticity is about connection. And if you're a big enough brand like Michael Jordan, Serena, you connect. Tay-Tay, her fans connect.
But these points could be worked at any level, right?
Correct.
It could be at the local level where someone's trying to put their brand to their football team, their soccer team, football, soccer, right? And saying, we want to be part of you. Yep. This is why. Clubs, any clubs, wherever they are around the world, should be asking these questions, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Not just looking at the check at the end of the day, because that's what too many do.
Well, it's the upfront attractiveness of getting money that you actually then get blurred with what everything else is sitting behind it. And, I mean, let's face it, you and I are collaborating on a sports field where we want a bunch of people to listen to our pod, and we're going to sponsor a coffee cart. I'm telling you, the first thing we're doing is making sure the coffee's good, it's hot, and they serve it quickly.
I do like the idea of a Tay-Tay pen, don't you?
I do. I'm just going to make a call after this.
Okay, all right. So that is what Gold Diggers winning in sports business is all about. Should we do this again?
Yeah, I think so. We should get some friends.
We should find some friends. Well, I'm your friend. Can I be your friend?
If I can have a Tay-Tay pen.
You can have it. There you go. There's your Tay-Tay pen.
Thank you.
Tay-Tay pen number 1 is done. That is Gold Diggers winning in sports business. Give us a follow. I'm Stephen McIvor. You're
Mike Keech.
Well, there you go. Not a bad first episode.